Hello and welcome to the Next Pro Show. As it is Selection Sunday, I am Matt Reynolds here with Ethan Piechota, along with a number of guests that we'll be joined by throughout the show. We've got John Hoyer running the ones and twos, Aiden Willock in the chat as well. It is a big day, and this is the day, Ethan, that really all of our teams have been playing towards. There's two finals that we have. You've got the Pro 16 finals, which this is the Pro 16 finals selection show. And then later on in July, we will have the next selection show a little bit after that is concluded. Their regular season ends in July, just a little bit after. On July 9th, we'll have that selection show. So we've got a lot of big things coming up and very, very exciting show for all of our, not just our guests, but for you sitting at home watching. I know we've got a lot of watch parties out there. Make sure you're tagging at NXTPRO Hoops as well as at Pro 16 League, and we will retweet you and put that out. So we're very excited. Hopefully most of the watch parties are happy, but unfortunately some of you missed it. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that you're not a great team, but that's the way it goes in life. There's only so many teams that make it into the bracket. And let's start with, before we get into it, we have to give a little bit of shout out and some love, because starting tomorrow night in action for the first time will be Nicholas Kamania with Team USA. So congratulations to Nick. We're really proud of you. Great work. Very, very excited for you. As you see there, the graphic, he will be in action tomorrow night. We'll be sure to put that time out on socials. I believe that you can watch it on YouTube. So very proud of Nick. He's had a great year with BTI, Ethan, and he's been a prospect for a long time that I know you in particular, you were the first one that told me about him. And then the second I watched him, we've both been very high on Nick's potential, and that potential starting to turn into production more and more.
He's made both of us look very smart, Matt, over a 2-3 year period since we've initially gotten to know him, and he's continued to rise and go to levels that frankly I didn't even think he'd be at 2 years ago. So tremendous prospect, tremendous kid, tremendous work ethic, and he's put it all out there in 2 years on playing on the circuit. And now his goal after this amazing opportunity and stint with USA is, I'm sure, to be one of the teams, BTI United, that's going to contend and potentially win a Pro 16 League championship in 17U in July.
We'll see where they finish. A lot of people obviously are anxiously awaiting the next, as there's only 16 that make it. But you may not know there's 22 Pro 16 17U teams. Only 16 make the final bracket. So there are some that are on the cusp there that will have some play-in opportunities that they're going to have to play extremely well in Phoenix for. Speaking of Phoenix, Ethan, for those tuning in maybe for the first time, or a parent or a player that maybe even just don't understand exactly this selection process. Yes, it's called Selection Sunday, but truthfully, there's no selecting. This is all standings. Every team has competed. Every team is in an algorithm. It's the same algorithm for all groups, for every age group. Walk people through the algorithm and just how exactly this gets selected.
The algorithm is comprised of 3 variables: point differential, which is the smallest factor; strength of schedule, which is right in the middle; your biggest factor is wins and losses. As point blank, obvious as it can be, wins and losses matter on our circuit. We've pushed that the entire spring. And based on your performance in the spring, we now have the ability to take, based on the algorithm's results, the top 16 Pro 16 and the top 16 next teams at each age, 15, 16, and 17U, to make up a 32-team bracket at each age, where each age will compete for a champion in Phoenix, July 11th through the 14th for 17U. Phoenix will be pool play. Indianapolis the next weekend, which is also a live period, will be where their bracket starts and finishes.
Yeah, so let's talk about it from that standpoint. The 17U in Phoenix, they're going to be playing pool play, pools of 7, which will include some in the play-in. Walk people through exactly those pools. You're set within your area, so you can only drop potentially, from 1 to however far down on the Pro 16 side, and same thing goes for next. There's 3 next teams in the top pool. There's 4 Pro 16s in the top pool, meaning the number 1 seed in Pro 16 as of now, they could drop all the way to 4 for Indy, but that's the furthest they can drop because, again, the regular season matters. For the next side, it's the top 3 are in that pool. So, again, you can go from 1 to 3 or 3 to 1 or, mix in between. But that obviously has some impact because we do want the regular season to have a big impact on the main bracket, but still have some things able to be shuffled around for 17U.
Yeah, pool play is kind of a new concept and an interesting one that I'm super intrigued to see how it's going to work out for us. It's a little bit different in terms of 17U, in terms of the format that we had last year, Matt. And now, especially with the actual play-in pools themselves, we have 2 play-in pools, like you said, of 7 teams in each. We will take the top 2 teams from each pool based on their performance in Phoenix. That will round out the 32-team Pro16 championship bracket. These teams can either be Pro16 or next teams. We have a solid mix of both levels represented in each of these play-in pools. So going to spar some early competition in Phoenix, with it being a live period, and ultimately with a trip to Indianapolis on the line. I mean, I can't wait to see how these pool play games and matchups shake out. Could provide some super special moments down in Phoenix, Arizona.
And for 15U and 16U, the entire bracket, we're getting ready to reveal. They will play in Phoenix only. They can still go to Indy. We will still have many of these teams in Indianapolis, but their finals, their championship will end in the sunny, hot, very hot Phoenix in the month of July. So no need to bring long sleeves, folks. No need to bring long sleeves. But it is just one location for the finals, and that is a big deal, both in Indy and in Phoenix. Everybody's under one roof. At Phoenix, this is the first time a lot of 15U and 16U players are going to have an opportunity to be in front of college coaches. As we know, the reality is this is not 10 years ago. This is not 5 years ago. There's not as many watching 15U and 16U. But when you get a finals like this and you start playing your way down, college coaches do become intrigued and say, okay, hey, let me peek over here and see who's in the Final Four of this 15U, 16U matchup. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get to our first piece. And I know you've been anxiously awaiting. We're going to start with 15U and work our way up to 17U. 15U, starting first with the next standings. We've got the number 1 seed, Team Ish, out of North Carolina. Not a shock to anyone. Oregon Prospects right there behind them at 2. At the 3 spot is Pac Basketball out of Kansas City. At 4, you've got Oklahoma Wolfpack Mason. Followed closely there at 5 by Heartwork Elite out of Louisiana. Very good group. At 6, it's off to you. The Fighting Monty Patels have made the bracket. Shout out to them out of Arkansas. Young Hustle Black is at 7. And at 8 is Houston Apex.
Continuing on here, number 9, BTI Pressure Elite out of Orlando, Florida. Rice Basketball Academy at 12-4 behind them, and seed. At 11, Chapman Basketball Gold Elite. They had a tremendous finish to the year. Number 12, GSA. Very intriguing group. Not a team that I'd want to face this low in terms of where they are seeding wise. Team Utah Black, the 13 seed. Iowa Barnstormers Gold. You'll see them a couple times at the 14 spot. 15, Exposure Sports. What a run for those guys from California. And 16, Quad City Shockers Orange, looking to shock a potential 1 seed at the 16 spot and next, which means they're the 32 seed in our bracket.
Awesome. Well, congratulations to each of those 16 teams. You are the first 16 in the field. Got to feel good. You've earned it. You've worked really hard. Let's talk about, we just have a few minutes of time here that I want to dedicate to each section here. So let's go ahead with the next section. We got to start with the number 1 seed, Team Ish. Ethan, they've been unbelievable all season long.
Unreal. And I think it was after this video was filmed in Rocky Mount, which was their second tournament with us in North Carolina, where I was told to come on the show and say that they already have their flights booked to Phoenix. Well, we see now about a month and a half later from that statement, they went 8-0 across their last 2 tournaments. They've been dominant really start to finish. One of 2 16-0 teams in the entire circuit across all ages. The only other one coming in the 16U bracket. James Minland, Parker Watkins, Carlos Marshall, Travion Williams, 4 of the highest impact, highest upside prospects that we have in 15U on our circuit. I mean, it's hard for me, Matt, to go in and not label them as one of the favorites, regardless Pro 16 or next. I mean, they are a very trendy pick, I think, for people to potentially win it all in Phoenix. And they're going to have some extremely tough matchups to start it off, but excited to see what this group does.
And we're going to get to this a little bit later in the show, but we will tell you, we do have models. Again, when you have an algorithm, when you have something that is a model, it does spit out for you, what it thinks the results will be in the future as well, based on what's happened. Team Ish, not to get ahead of ourselves, they are the second team in the model. So projected to be finishing in the championship game as a next program, which is very impressive. Now they've got to go do it. They've got to go do it. Without further ado, though, I want to talk about a couple others, Ethan. We've got to talk about the Oregon prospects, 15-1. Obviously, literally, we're going from North Carolina with Team Ish all the way to the other side of the country to the Oregon prospects, which is one of the really cool parts about this tournament in Phoenix and Indy, is these teams are coming from literally all over the country.
All over the place, just like our circuit this year. And it's honestly kind of shocking, even as you say that, Matt, to think about when we were doing this selection show last year, to think about just the widespread diversity that we have in different regions of the country this year. You go from North Carolina straight to Oregon. This Oregon prospects group under Kendall White, 15-1 in the regular season. They competed with just about anybody. Their only loss coming to Select Basketball Pro 16, who is the top seeded 15U team as well. Gabe Oliveira, Alarian Scott, guard play with Pat Vialva. This team is loaded from top to bottom. They're going to get out and run. They're going to score a lot of points. 15U has a couple of legit next contenders at the very top. I think you've got to start with obviously Team Ish, go to Oregon prospects, and you continue to go down the line. You've got a lot of groups that have the roster construction, the coaching, and the overall resume and body of work from the spring that indicate, hey, they're going to be, this isn't just a one round show up and lose and exit. They're here to compete for a title.
No doubt about it. Another couple of programs I want to give some mention and some love to in that 15U bracket. GSA Heat, they're a club, but they've got some prospects that definitely we're all keeping an eye on very closely.
Yeah, Sheldon Cobbin has been great from start to finish. They opened up in Oklahoma City our first session of the year. They beat Southern Ties, who has a very solid 15U team down in that tournament. Continued to win games over and over again. Went to Monroe, took a little bit of time off, then went to Wichita and Phoenix. So they played the first 2 weekends of the year. They played the last 2 weekends of the spring. But overall, a 12-4 record. And there was a lot of 12-4 15U teams, Matt, a lot. So, you really had to separate yourself with your strength of schedule to be a 12-4 team that makes this tournament. GSA Heat sneaks in. And because of the format, again, they have 4 losses. 4 losses do carry some weight. It's not great for your resume. Because of that, they're a lower seeded 15U team. I'd be on high alert if I have to draw them in the first round if I'm a Pro 16 team. It's just not a team that I want to play against. They're gonna play super hard. Bodies are gonna hit the floor. Sheldon Cobbin is built like a football player at 6'4" with his frame, and he's their enforcer, but also their best player on both sides of the floor. So super intrigued to see who they draw in the first round, because I think that's a team that could be on potential upset alert.
And then I want to give a shout out with Young Hustle. We've got Hudson Villakanis, who just lit it up one of the weekends. This is from Indy. Had an absolutely great weekend. This is a group that, Ethan, they've continued to make strides week after week after week. Hudson obviously being a big part of that, but he's got some great teammates as well. This is another group that you better keep on upset watch if you play them in the first round.
Indianapolis was a phenomenal weekend for these guys. I believe they had 2 Pro 16 wins along with a 4-0 weekend in Indy. Definitely a contender. Like I said, as you continue to go down the line, the contenders and next are real in the 15U division. I think this is the one age where we could see somebody make a very deep run, talking Elite 8, Final 4, or multiple teams potentially. I think that's how talented the 15U division in both Pro 16 and next is. And Young Hustle, just another program that has had a tremendous spring, and interested to see who they draw in the first round. Because again, that's another matchup, like you said, Matt, that could be definitely on upset alert.
Well, before we get to those first round matchups, we still have to go to Pro 16. But even before we get there, John, throw back up just one more time the 15U 16 teams that made it from the next section before we bring Pablo Kong on. And as we bring Pablo on here shortly, I just want people to understand, again, these 16 are going to get this great opportunity in Phoenix. There are definitely some legitimate contenders that could, no doubt be in contention for this title. Last year, we had that happen in both 15s and 16s where teams made really deep runs. In 16U, most notably, West Virginia Gold got all the way to the championship game before losing to Select Basketball. So anything can happen. But looking at the 15U, you see the top 8 there. Again, going over those team-ish, Oregon Prospects, Pack Basketball, Oklahoma Wolfpack, Mason, Heartwork Elite, Off to You, Young Hustle, and Houston Apex. We'll bring Pablo on. Pablo, let's start with the we're going to keep 15U. I don't want to ruin any other potential. We don't want to let any slip for 16U and 17U, but just talking 15U of those 8 teams that you see there, you've obviously covered the circuit all year long. Before we get into that specific thing, from the competition you've seen and everything that you've been watching on your end as just a scout, how hard do you feel like it was to make the top 16 on the next side?
First of all, thanks for having me on, Matt. Appreciate you bringing me along to the team. Yeah, I mean, everything you said. So for me, just getting, just fresh eyes on all the teams that I've seen. I mean, the competition is phenomenal. You know what I mean? Like Team Ish was actually the first team I actually watched in the whole circuit. And I was like, damn. And I was like, wait a minute. If this kind of talent, if there's a team better than them, I was like, man, I need to see them, because I'll tell you, man, like it's tough to make that. It's tough. It's tough to be on the top 16, and 15U, because man, the talent level is just so deep, man, so deep. And that Team Ish team, I just don't see anybody. Honestly, I don't see anybody beating them. I don't. I know everybody's
that's
probably
my
gonna go
second
crazy
question.
when I say that.
Do
They're
you
gonna go crazy
think
when I say that.
can Team Ish win the Pro 16 championship? I mean, the next finals is down the road. Obviously, they're going to have an opportunity for that, but can they take home that Pro 16 finals with what you've seen?
I believe it's going to be very tough to beat them. Very tough to beat them. I think you got to play a very, very, very good and damn near perfect game to beat them. So for sure, I think they can. I expect them. Honestly, I expect them to win. I expect them to win it all, like 100%. Like, and I'm not even a betting man, but if I had to put my paycheck on it, I would probably bet on them. Am I crazy for saying that?
The models have some predictions on that. They don't think you're far off. They've got them at 2nd overall. So Pablo, thanks so much for hopping in here real quick. We appreciate your time, and we'll be seeing you here very soon in July.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, let's get to the Pro 16 standings for 15U. As look, this is an unveil as well again, and we'll kind of go through the matchups as we get through it after this. But without further ado, here are your 15U Pro 16 final standings in the regular season. We've got Select Basketball as the number 1 seed out of Idaho. They've had a terrific run. Coos Elite at number 2. They've been what some would call the favorite. We All Can Go right there at 3. At the 4th seed is One Family, the reigning champs at 17U a year ago. The 5th seed is going to be SA Future, a very good SA Future squad, 8-4 on the year. Nebraska Supreme right there behind them, also at 8-4 on the season. At 7 is Southern Ties out of Oklahoma at 7-5. And the 8th seed is BTI Select at 6-6 on the season.
Keeping it going there with the 9-seeded team, Grand Park Premier. Another very solid group for them. Rhode Island Elite as the 10 seed, the 11 seed AAO Flight Pro 16 looking to make a deep run in July. The 12 seed, the Las Vegas Knicks, friends out of Nevada. 13 seed Team Scoot out of Atlanta, Georgia. The 14 seed West Virginia Gold looking to make some magic happen in July with this team like they did last year as a next squad. 15 seed is Louisiana Elite, and the 16 seed Team Museum, who will draw Team Ish in the first round, Matt.
Woo-wee!
That's not somebody that you want to see on your schedule. And I'm just gonna say this while we have a little bit of time before we get into the next part. I think Coos Elite, I think Select Basketball are both gonna have something to say about all the talk that we've had about next teams, and specifically Team Ish being a favorite to potentially win it. I think Coos Elite's it should take that to heart, because specifically them, they're a team that has pretty much run the table this year. I believe one of their only losses actually came as a forfeit loss in Wichita that they were not unfortunately able to show up for. So that's a team, especially in July, that I'd feel tough leaving out. Again, though, we do have some real 15U next contenders, but I'll just say the top of the Pro 16 teams for 15U are definitely real contenders.
Hey, you got to talk about Reese Alston, William Goldsby, and of coach there, of course, they've got the famous coach on the sidelines. You heard that Alston name, and Rafer obviously is the coach. So they're a group that they're already some of their prospects getting college offers. And we talked about it earlier. It's not 10 years ago. It is really hard to get a college scholarship offer at 15U or 16U anymore. But it really speaks to the level of talent that they have. One of those other teams that would have to be mentioned up there at the top, they had a tough spill in Cincinnati a little bit, but We All Can Go is another group, Ethan, in that Pro 16 that, again, they've got guys with scholarship offers already on their team as well.
Junior Smith, I believe, holds 8 Division I offers. The 2 most recent offers coming from Memphis and Wichita. This team has size. This team plays above the rim. They can get out and run, and they finished the regular season with a 9-3 record. Obviously coming in at that 3rd seed. We All Can Go, definitely one of the surefire contenders in 15U. I'm excited to see what they do in July.
All right, let's get to the bracket, and this is going to be very exciting. Here are your matchups in the first round, and we start with select basketball, the 1 seed taking on the Quad City Shockers Orange. Tall task, very tall task to start, Ethan, in that first game.
Most definitely. Heading on to the next one, you've got Team Ish and you've got Team Museum, and we just talked about this. The model that we have does have predictive outcomes for games, and I'll just say Team Ish is a very heavy favorite in this one. So
yeah, we'll go ahead and say the number on this one. I'm going to go ahead and say the number 27.5. That's what the models have that one at. So hey, Team Museum, you got a lot to work up to. Grand Park Premier, Houston Apex next. This one, Ethan, the models have this literally a pick'em game. So this is going to be a very, very exciting game between these two squads that I would say are pretty balanced.
Houston Apex is real. Jay Lincoln, their 6'5" wing, has been one of the better players on 15U all year long. This is another really, really solid 24 seed in the Houston Apex that you're not going to want to see in the first round if you're Grand Park.
Next matchup we've got is the 25 seed, and that is the BTI Pressure Elite Squad out of Tampa, Florida, and BTI Select. It's the battle. Maybe only one of them can keep their name, but it is the battle of the BTIs. BTI Select is from Los Angeles, so no affiliation. SA Future is your 5 seed. They take on GSA Heat, who we talked about earlier, a 28 seed in the 15U bracket. That will be an interesting one. Followed by 21st seed out of Louisiana's Heartwork Elite Basketball taking on the Las Vegas Knicks. This is one that Heartwork is actually the favored team according to the models. So interesting. There's some Pro 16 teams that you better show up. Team Scoot, they're an underdog to Oklahoma Wolfpack Mason, who is the 20 seed in that 2013 matchup. That will be a heavily contested battle in the 15U bracket. Next up is Team Utah Black. This is the 29 seed taking on One Family, the 4 seed. One Family, a sizable favorite, but Team Utah, you want to talk about a program, I think you're going to hear them quite a bit tonight. 3 seed is We All Can Go, who is a big favorite over Iowa Barnstormers Gold. 3 versus 30 matchup in that one. Pack Basketball, who you might hear a lot tonight as well. They're the 19 seed for 15U. They take on West Virginia Gold. They are also a favorite as the next team. There's several of those in here. AO Flight, a Pro 16 squad, and Off to You. I promise we did not do this on purpose, folks, but it is 2 Arkansas clubs facing off in Phoenix, and I swear to you, we really did not do that on purpose. It just
a little bit more at stake.
The Lord had a plan. 27 seed is Chapman out of Wisconsin. They've had a great season, and they will take on Nebraska Supreme in what I expect to be one of the better closely contested games in the first round. Southern Ties out of Oklahoma City takes on Rice Basketball Academy out of Michigan in the 7-26 matchup. This is one that, again, it's down there. The models have it to be a very, very close contest. Young Hustle takes on Rhode Island Elite. Young Hustle is a slight favorite. So this is another one that the models would say, again, we're expecting a lot of close games to start out in the opening bracket for 15U. For Louisiana Elite, they take on Oregon Prospects in the 15-18 matchup. Oregon Prospects, one of the better next teams, again, that we talked about earlier, 15-1. Going to be very fun to see if they can get past the Pro 16 squad in the opening round. And last but not least, it's the 31 seed Exposure Sports taking on the 2 seed out of Houston, Coos Elite. Coos a heavy favorite there. Ethan, let's go ahead and go to our next guest. We've got Kyle Unruh on to talk a little bit further about some of these teams and programs in 15U as we continue to go through the selection show on this great Sunday. Kyle, thanks for joining us. We appreciate the time. Well, we've got a couple of players here that we definitely want to talk about, and we've got to start with Colton Nichols with Pack Basketball. He's had a great season.
Yeah, he's a really good player, kind of an inside-out kid, 6'4", really gritty, very skilled, doesn't back down from anybody, elite competitor. This whole team is filled with kids like that for Pack. Liam Wolf has done a great job putting together some really good teams in all 3 of his age divisions. And this 15 and under team, man, they're going to be a tough out themselves. But Colton Nichols, in a lot of ways, leads the way for them.
Talk a little bit, Kyle, about Zane Roos from Quad City Shockers. I know this is a kid who already is becoming a bit of a national name on our circuit at just 15U, which is kind of unheard of nowadays.
Yeah, you guys had him. You have the Shockers up against Select Basketball. I think it's like a 132 game, right?
That's right.
I tell you, Select's going to have to pay attention to where Zane Russ is. 6'6" kid, has an offer from Creighton as a 2027 kid, really good frame. He's a shooter, scorer. If you lose him, you're in trouble. You will pay. And Select does a great job, but this is one they're going to have to pay attention to. Jordan Harris, I won't blow it, but Jordan Harris has done a great job putting 3 really good teams together in the high school division. And these 15s are no joke.
One might be on the border. So, hey, all 3 are not safe. That's all we'll say.
Right.
Ethan James is the last prospect, Kyle, we want to, make sure and give some love to. Again, apologies. We cannot go over every team and every player, but, we pick here and there. And Rice Basketball out of Michigan area, they've been really, really good this season at 15U specifically.
Yeah, I saw Ethan in Rockford or early in April. He and I have been going back on Twitter with how tall he is. He thinks he's
what's
taller.
What's he listed at, Kyle?
What's that?
What's he listed at?
In my books, he listed at 5'8", and Ethan contends he's 5'10". And so he hasn't come to me yet and let me measure him, but he and I are going back a little bit. It doesn't matter. This kid can really go. Ethan's really crafty. He's one of those floor general kids that just doesn't make mistakes. All the right decisions. Really fun to watch. Changes ends really fast. He's a handsy defender. He's just a treat to watch just because of how skilled and talented and the great feel he has. And so Lamar Rice has done a tremendous job putting his program together. And Ethan James is one to watch for that Rice Basketball Academy 15 and under team.
Well, Kyle, we appreciate the time. Thanks for hopping on the Sunday selection show. Again, we keep calling it selection show, but these teams earned this, Kyle. They really did with great play, and I know you'll be hanging out and watching the 16U and 17U reveal here shortly.
You bet.
All right, we keep the guest train moving. We all can go. Obviously, a top 3 seed in the 15U bracket. We're expecting big things out of them, and we've got Carlos Williams with us next, their program director. Carlos, you guys just announced you're in the top 3 in the standings. You've had a great start to the season. Break down for me. You've got a really talented team. What's it going to take to win the finals?
I think it was going to take to win the finals us getting together in June, having about a good week of practice, let our kids really gel and really just come together. Just being honest with you.
Now, your squad has several guys that already have Division I offers. You're probably going to miss some because there's so many, but break down for the viewers who all you have that, is already exceeding expectations and has scholarship offers early.
We got LJ Smith to come over. He actually played one section with CP3 on the Nike side. He averaged like 19. Ever since that, he came over to the Puma, ain't left Puma, been with us. He got probably about 8 offers, I think 6 or 7 offers right now. The biggest one from Michigan and Wichita State. Then I also got my point guard, Antonio McGahee, a 6'6", 6'7" point guard. He already got 5 or 6 offers. And I think today Wichita State also finna offer him right there. And he got Tennessee State, Jacksonville State. Then I also got another DJ. He's my power forward. Tennessee State offer him. Then we also had Monty that also got another offer from Tennessee State just by playing in the Puma 16.
Awesome stuff. Well, we're looking forward to seeing your club. Obviously, 32, win or lose, and that's my last question for you. How do you prepare your team for a situation like this, where if you lose, you're out? You do have to run the table.
Yes, sir. I mean, that's why I said it. I always go back to that week of practice, man. We're gonna have to really be mental, be ready to play, be disciplined, be fundamental, and come out there, man. And the day our goal is to make sure that we come home and bring that bring that Pro 16 championship back to Nashville, Tennessee, sir.
All right. Well, looking forward to it. It's going to be a tightly contested tournament. There's no doubt. So thanks so much for joining us.
And thank you, sir.
Okay, Ethan, I think we've just about covered 15U about as good as we can in the first 30 minutes of the show. So that, for our viewers, that's how it's going to go for each age. Take a deep breath here, and let's get to 16U because we have a lot to get to. We'll start with the next standings, where let's find out who your number 1 seed is for the next. For the next, it is Pack Basketball. Shout out to Liam Wolf and his crew. They are in the number 1 spot. BTI Pressure Elite out of Tampa, number 2. It's their second appearance already. Grind Family Chicago, very, very strong group in our 3rd spot. At the 4th spot, you've got Factory. They've had an outstanding season as well. In our 5th spot, it is Team Utah Black. They have been tremendous, 13-3 on the season. Heartwork Basketball follows them, 12-2 on the season at 6. At 7 is United Pursuit. They've had a great run, 13-3. And at 8 is Select Basketball Wadsworth. They are 13-3 as well.
Keeping it rolling. 9 seed in 16U, DYC Elite Red. Not a team that I'd want to face early and often. This group's picking at the right time. Number 10, Off to You. We see them for the 2nd time, but we see them for a 3rd, potentially in 17U. 11, Team Oklahoma. Great run from these guys. 12, Next Level SC. They've battled through a tough schedule all year and show up as the 12th overall seed in 16U. 13, answers start to flow in about Quad City Shockers. They make it again. 14, NTX Raptors Elite. Not a team that I want to see with how low they are. They were taken 2 games away from them, Matt, in Oklahoma, really by an act of nature. 15 seed, Florida Bayhawks Bachelor. Another very solid low-seeded next team. 16 seed as well, Rose City Ballers Safer. All of those 3, 14, 15, 16. So the top seeds in the Pro 16 are going to have their hands full to start the weekend off in Phoenix. You're going to get off the plane. You're going to get hit by a bit of heat. You're going to walk to the gym, and you're going to have a tough first-round matchup in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona.
Well, let's break down further in the next standings. You got to start with Pack Basketball, who has been tremendous this season as a program. I got to give them their kudos. Liam has really elevated the program, but specifically this 16U team, who you're going to see Liam here coaching them up, they've got a chance to make a really deep run in this.
Yeah, Grady Payton and Kayvon Bonner, 2 of their standout players on this squad. Again, one of the only other undefeated teams in the entire circuit across any age, Pro 16 or next, doesn't matter who you are. Them and Team Ish, the only 2 undefeated 16-0 squads from the spring. This is a group that, again, goes without saying, but very, very tough first-round draw for any Pro 16 team that they're going to get. I see them making a very deep run in this tournament. Again, 16-0 for a reason. If you're 16-0, that's no fluke. Doesn't matter who you played. They have the resume to back themselves as well, but this group knows how to win close games. They've proved that time and time again. Super excited to see this team in action come July.
Yeah, you mentioned Kayvon Bonner and Grady Payton. Those two definitely big standouts for this team. They've got a deep, deep, deep lineup that Liam has built out there out of Kansas City. So shout out to Pack Basketball. Way to go. Way to get that top seed for next. We'll tell you who you're playing here shortly. Off to you. The second time we have heard them mention, they really got hot in May. Very battle-tested April. Played one of the toughest schedules of any team that made the Pro 16 finals in 16U.
Yeah, I believe there was a weekend in St. Louis where this off-to-you 16U team played 3 Pro 16 teams in the same weekend. So they are battle-tested. They've seen it all. However, in May, like you said, Matt, they started to stack wins, and that was the separator for them throughout that month. Hudson Rorix has the vibe of similar guards that we've seen in the tournament, in the actual NCAA tournament in past years, where if he starts to get hot, this is a team that could knock a couple of groups off consecutively just based on his three-point shooting alone. TJ Whitney, another guy for them that gets downhill, scores at the rim. They have size in the front court. They defend super well. They're going to bring a professional coaching staff that is probably already starting to watch film as we speak on their opponent that's going to be unveiled here shortly. So they're going to be ready. This 16U team is, in my opinion, their best group by far. They're well equipped to make a really, really deep run and knock off a number of teams in their path.
And I can't go without mentioning Florida Bayhawks and their run that they've been able to put together to make this finals.
No doubt. They are another group that has been battle tested. Every single tournament they've played in has been filled with smoke. They've had no easy games on their schedule from start to finish. 2026 point guard Diego Brito is their floor general. He's their metronome. He's going to put everybody into place. He's going to run offense, generate solid looks for his teammates. And 6'7" Connor Corus, one of their front court pieces, is skilled. He was actually on a 15U team last year with us that made a Pro 16 finals run. Now with the Bayhawks, he's been with them from start to finish and has been an integral addition and piece to their success this year. Again, I said it when they were being unveiled. They're going to be the number 31 seed, so we'll see who they play here shortly, but not somebody that I'd want to draw in the first round.
Speaking of who these next teams will play, let's get to the Pro 16 standings, where we will, for the first time in the show today, have some teams that are on the outside looking in from the Pro 16 side. Again, there's only 16 that can make it, so there is some play-in teams. We'll get to those in a second. But how about Select Basketball, the number 1 seed in both 15 and 16s? Impressive what they're doing. SA Future, they've got an unbelievable crew. They're at number 2. At the third spot is a team that is very dangerous. That's the Las Vegas Knicks, coached by Lamar Bigby. He's got a great group. At 4 is Iowa Barnstormers. They've got not just a dude, but they've got a great team. 5 is Southern Ties, coached by Drew Whitmore. They're a great group. 6 is West Virginia Gold. 7, out of Nebraska, is Supreme. And at the 8th spot is Grand Park Premier out of Indiana. They have had a fabulous season as well. They're at 7 and 5.
At the 9 seed, you got MPJ Elite, who is a dangerous squad heading into this part of the year. One Family had a bit of a slow start to the year, but has consistently gotten better. AO Flight follows them as the 11th seed in 16U. The 12th seed, YGC, a very interesting seeding for them here. I think they went 6-6 in the regular season, but very dangerous. 13 is Coos Elite. 14 is Team Scoot. These, Matt, are all of the teams that are safe above the play-in bracket.
Here comes the play-in. There it is. It's Louisiana Elite, BTI Select, Rhode Island Elite, Team Warwick, and Team Museum. These teams have to play their way in. So the 14 top spots are locked in. The others, though, have to find their way in. Before we get to you exactly just the plan and all the matchups for the bracket, let's bring on someone from a program that, again, they've been the number 1 seed at 15U. They're the number 1 seed at 16U. And, we're not going to reveal 17s, but they're up there. And that we'll bring on one of their coaches, and that is none other than our man, Andy. Andy, welcome to the show. Andy Harrington, who obviously you guys, you won one of our age groups last year. And this year, we haven't got to 17s yet, so we don't know where you are. But we know you're the number 1 seed at 15U. You're the number 1 seed at 16U. Why is that?
Got to have good players. I mean, I think we have a lot of really, really talented players that have bought into our concepts and principles and our culture, and just gotten better every game that we've played. So, number one, you've got to have those guys, and number two, I do think we have some really good coaches across the board in our program that teach these guys how to play the right way.
No doubt. And Ethan, we've obviously seen a lot of their groups through it. I'm going to let you give some praise here, but just the coaching, it obviously starts from the top.
Yep, 100%. And I think, Andy, for you guys, I mentioned it, but you have a group at every single age level where you're going to be somewhat unassuming, but you're going to run your stuff and you're going to run teams out of the gym consistently. I think that's really honestly spoken volumes over the past 2 years that you've been with us. This 16U group in particular for you guys coming in at the 1 seed, is this a group that has what it takes to make a super deep run similar to last year? Obviously, last year was the year the 16U for you guys won the Pro 16 finals. That team now with us as their 17U. Is this 16U, does it have a similar makeup?
Yeah, I think that this group has just gotten better and better game to game. We have kids from different areas within this team that are new to our program. So it took a little more time to get more crisp with them, pulling guys from, across the Northwest. But every game they've gotten better. I mean, Ethan Harris, who got an offer from Portland just about 2 or 3 weeks ago, is the guy that just keeps getting better and better. Ty Reed, Caden Simmons. I mean, you go down Jemiah Lake, you go down the list with that team. I mean, we have, I think, really strong guard play. We've got really good wings, and we have some legit size with Ty and Ethan, both 6'10" and 6'8". So I think the pieces are there to make another strong run at this. But obviously with the tournament, it's about matchups and how you're playing. You got to get the ball to bounce a certain way in a certain game. But we feel really confident about that group and where they're at. And obviously when you have Colby Blaine, the NAI National, 2-time NAI National Coach of the Year, coaching that group, you've always got a chance to win.
Well, Andy, thanks so much for the time. We'll let you know that the models say you are indeed the favorite, but it's not by much because SA Future, Southern Ties, Las Vegas Knicks, and there's some really good ball clubs at 16U. So we're looking forward to seeing what you guys do at all ages, and appreciate your time as always.
As always, we appreciate you guys, and thanks for having me on.
Man, yes. Let's go ahead and give what the models say for 16U before we get to the bracket. We do have Select Basketball as the overall favorite. SA Future, though, is, right there. And at 16U, from what I've been told, the declaration has to happen. You can't play both. But I believe Isaiah Ward is going to be with the 16U, which I would say the models may not have that accounted for. So we might have to bump them to that top spot as overall favorite. Southern Ties right there. Las Vegas Knicks not too far behind them. Iowa Barnstormers gold. And this is what I wanted you all to hear. Pack Basketball is right there. They're the next group, followed by BTI Grind Family. That's 3 next teams, Ethan, that are projected to finish in the top 8. And again, deep runs are not easy. You do have to kind of have the ball bounce your way. But I thought that said a lot of just how deep at 16U the next division is, with 3 of the next teams in the top 8.
Definitely. Those are all 3 teams, Matt, that I think from themselves they would expect nothing less than at least an Elite 8 run, if not more. And the list goes on past those 3 groups as well. But definitely when you talk about Grind Family Chicago, they have the roster construction and the makeup to compete with just about anybody. BTI Pressure Elite, I think, has the size, the front court play, also the guard play to go out there and match up with any of the top teams in the 16U bracket. And Pack Basketball, again, goes without saying, 16-0 for a reason. If I was a betting man, I'm betting on a team that knows how to win, and they've shown that consistently throughout the spring. So definitely a lot of parity from the Pro 16 and the next at the 16U age group, and excited to see. Like Andy said, matchups are everything in this kind of tournament. So the kind of matchup that you get based on, how the algorithm fell is really going to matter and be the first domino that falls for a lot of these teams looking to make a run in July.
It is win or you're out. It's that simple at 15 and 16. There is 1 game elimination The teams obviously who are eliminated will continue to play because college coaches in the live period, but they will be out from the bracket. So that being said, John, let's reveal the bracket as John Hoyer gets us our first matchup, which is, in fact, Select Basketball. And it's a West Coast matchup here. Rose City Ballers, Select Basketball. This is going to be an intriguing West Coast matchup that obviously Select is a favorite, but you never know with Rose City. There's a TBD there because we don't know who's going to take that last spot, but that's a big advantage. Pack Basketball will have sat Ethan, and the 16 seed will have already played a game. So that is a slight advantage there that Pack Basketball was able to guarantee themselves with the top seed. MPJ Elite, they come in at the 9 seed. They will take on Select Basketball. The next team, yeah, we should have talked about that with Andy. How about that? They've got a next group in this 16U bracket. You might see another one down the line. BYC Elite, they are the 25 seed taking on the 8 seed Grand Park Premier in the Pro 16. We expect that one to be a very tightly contested game. 5 seed Southern Ties takes on Next Level SC. That one, Southern Ties is your favorite. Next matchup we have is an intriguing one, to say the least, one that the models are projecting to be a very close game. That is YGC and Team Utah Black. Expect that one to be very, very, very close. Coos Elite is in our next matchup as the 13 seed against Factory. How about this? Ethan, Factory's favored.
Yep, no doubt. These two teams, Matt, also faced off in the 17U division in the Wichita live period. So maybe a little bit of program reputation on the line. I know both of these squads are going to be fired up for this one. Definitely going to be one of the better first-round matchups that we have.
No doubt about it. Our next matchup is the 29 seed Quad City Shockers, who you've seen quite a bit on the show. And again, we did not do this on purpose, but it's the way it goes. We got an Arkansas matchup in the 15U, and here is an in-state Iowa matchup with the Iowa Barnstormers squad matching up against Quad City. Las Vegas Knicks will take on a dangerous, and I mean a dangerous, NTX Raptor squad. That is not one I would want to see if I was the Las Vegas Knicks, but we'll see what they're able to pull off. It's going to be a fun game. Grind Family Chicago on the next side is favored over Team Scoot in the 1914 matchup. That's going to be a very intriguing matchup. Two very similar playing styles, very talented groups. AO Flight is the 11 seed taking on Heart Work Elite Basketball. That is one that is a pick'em game according to the models as well. We expect that one to be very tightly contested. Team Oklahoma is your 27 seed. They take on West Virginia Gold. West Virginia Gold favored, but just slightly according to the models. This one could be, a little bit of one of the biggest upsets potentially. Off to you, the 26th spot plays Nebraska Supreme at the 7th spot. This is where you'll start to see as the last few matchups, games, again, are going to get closer and closer as teams are more closer together from a seeding perspective. As we move on to our next game, you've got United Pursuit in the 23rd spot, facing off against the 10th overall seed in One Family. This one, again, is another one that we expect to be very close. There's a lot of games here that could be very, very intriguing. And the next matchup here, this one, we'll explain it a little bit. This is the play-in. So 15 and 16, if you watch the NBA and how they do the play-in, it's very similar. It'll be either Louisiana Elite or BTI Select. Whoever wins that game will play BTI Pressure Elite. And it is worth a note. BTI plays BTI in 15U, and there's a chance that they also play each other in 16U in the opening round. Again, just kind of the way things worked themselves out. But that is your playing game. And we've got one more matchup, which I think has the most dangerous team in 16U from a talent perspective, top to bottom, and that's SA Future taking on, as the number 2 seed, the number 31 seed, the Florida Bayhawks. Ethan, this bracket, I mean, you scroll through here. I'm just going to go through the models. We've got, let's see how many games we have that are projected to be within 10 points. We've got a 7.5, 6.5, 6.5, 7.5, 2.5, 6.5, 1.5, 9.5, 6.5, 2.5. I mean, we have quite a few of those games that are projected to be very, very close. And one of those games just a half a point favorite for one of the clubs. So it's going to be very exciting to see the 16U bracket. As I mentioned earlier, the favorites, according to the models, it is Select Basketball, SA Future, Southern Ties, Las Vegas Knicks, Iowa Barnstormers Gold, Pack Basketball next, BTI next, and Grind Family next. That is your top group of teams there. But we did also see last year teams can kind of catch fire. And one of the teams that I wanted to bring up before we move to 17s that I would pick as my dark horse. They have a very tough first round matchup, but if they can somehow get past it, here's the thing. If you play a higher seed up front, well, then you get their road going forward if you're able to beat them. And as I looked through all these games, the matchup that I keep coming back to is where you have the 3 seed, the Las Vegas Knicks, playing the NTX Raptors, one that I think the world of what Lamar has done with the 16U squad. They're very, very good, but so is NTX Raptors. And the guards in this matchup particularly are going to be very fun to watch.
Yeah, most definitely. This is one of the best matchups in the first round across any age that we have. Like you said, what Lamar's done with this Las Vegas Knicks 16U squad is really special. This is a group that has good guard play, but also has size in the front court to be able to compete. They are still favorites in this game. But again, NTX Raptors, this is an underseeded group, Matt. They held the number 1 seed in 16U for the majority of the year. Ran into a bit of a buzzsaw in Wichita and in OKC as well. Caden Johnson, Mike Banks, their big guy. They're going to be fired up and ready for this matchup. I can't wait to see that 3 versus 30 game to start off Phoenix. I mean, that's just going to be a special matchup and kind of clash of play styles as well.
On the Pro 16 side, there's a few teams that I want to make sure we mention at the 16U. One in particular that I'm going to say is my dark horse for Pro 16, and that is Grand Park Premier, quite frankly, because of Noah Smith. He's 6'9". He continues to grow every time I see him, so he may even be taller than that at this point. He is a top 100 prospect down the line. It's going to be somebody that turns heads. You look at the quality wins they have and how the roster construction is going. If they can practice and be prepared and play their best ball, they've got a chance to make a really deep run. They obviously have BYC, who's a tough squad out of West Texas to start it off. So they're going to have to get past them. But again, that's just kind of the way it is. Every matchup is really, really tough. And Noah Smith is one that, again, I've got my eye on him. I think a lot of college coaches will peek over and take a look at him as well out there in Phoenix and what he can do. They're definitely a group. Southern Ties is another group that, Neo Lawrence, Jaden Hopkins, they're a talented group as well.
Most definitely. Southern Ties, I think, was regarded by the people who host this show as one of our favorites to start the very beginning of the year after Oklahoma City. And they've kind of remained consistently as one of those groups throughout spring play. Neo Lawrence, Jaden Hopkins. I love guard play. I think basketball translates down from the NBA to college to high school, AAU, whatever it is. I think guard play takes you a long way when you need to win games. There might not be a better 2026 backcourt on the Pro 16 league other than Neo Lawrence and Jaden Hopkins. And I think that's where you start with that team. They're going to be a super tough out, coming in as the 5th overall seed. So they'll have a bit of a tough first round draw and potentially second round draw as well. But they are well equipped and well positioned to make a super deep July run. That group too, Matt, has been together for a very long time. There's no week of practice and gelling or whatever it is. They know each other. So I'm very excited to see what this Southern Ties 16U group does. They're definitely one of my favorites heading into this bracket, but we'll see how it shakes out. Next Level SC, their first round matchup has been a group that's, again, pretty underseeded based on the teams that they've played throughout the spring. They're battle tested. They'll be ready and ready for that matchup. So excited to see how that shakes out.
All right. I know there is a lot of people that have been waiting for arguably the most tight race we've ever seen to make any age group in the Pro 16 finals is the 17U. And with the 17U, we have an announcement that I don't think a lot are expecting, but we made an executive decision, and that is the play-in. You had at an uneven number because of the Pro 16 teams being at 22. Obviously, that means 15 through 22. You are in the play-in game. 15 and 16 and next, we're always going to be in the play-in bracket as well. But we went ahead and extended it out a little further. I'm not going to tell you how far. You'll have to stay tuned and pay attention. But there are some really good groups that were able to make it just due to numbers and having to even out the pools as we go through it. And that is one thing that you're not going to see a bracket for 17U because it's not set. There are pools, and so it's going to be pools of 7 in every single pool that you're getting ready to see. But before we get to the pools and all of that, we have to get into who actually made it. And I know there's a lot of you that are very nervous, rightfully so. You probably should be. There's a few that did miss it that are very, very good teams. But let's start with the ones that did make it. And you see number 1, it's Prominent Elite. Ethan, they are a group that has been tremendous all season long, as has Team Spates. Maurice Spates sponsored program. He's always been great to get back, and his group right there, they've earned that number 2 spot. Rogue is at number 3. They've been in and out of that number 1 spot all season long. Ernie Barber's got his crew right where he wants them. Fam Elite in the top 5 at 4 in the 17U. Cap City Scrappers, they've had the easiest schedule out of any group, but they are at 5 with a great record. Team Utah Black is at 6, and your 7 seed is Iowa Barnstormers Gold. Your 8 seed with a record of 14-2 is Grand Park Premier Next. That's right, Grand Park can have potentially 2 teams in the 17U bracket.
Number 9 seed, J-Uno Elite out of Austin. Phenomenal year for those guys. Number 10, the Pro Level Titans. What an end to the spring they had, going 14-2. Number 11, Colorado Collective Murphy coming in, making it again for the 2nd straight year. And at 12, the Bama Celtics, team that took the month of separation to heart. They had a tremendous May. They're 13-3, the 13 seed. 3 for 3, off to you. What a showing from this program this year. They're also 13-3, and 14 is Born to Win Basketball, who played 4 out of the last 5 weekends in the spring mat to finish 13-3 and secure their spot in not only Phoenix, but also Indianapolis for the 17U bracket.
There's some nervous teams, and here comes your play-in. It's Team KST, just narrowly in the play-in. They will be in one of the play-in pools. Quad City Shockers, man, you've been talked a lot about. Congratulations, a great year for their program. They are also in the play-in, and here's where the nerves really get going. Urban DFW, they are a group that is one of our more talented next groups, and they have, in fact, made the play-in bracket as well for 17U. KC Spurs, congratulations to Don Western and his group. A big, big weekend in Oklahoma City to finish Memorial Day pushes them into the play-in. River City Hoops, shout out to River City Hoops out of Florida. They've been a great group, and they are narrowly in. And the last group in for 17U, if you haven't heard your name, unfortunately, you missed the Pro 16 finals. It is Michigan Hurricanes. Michigan Hurricanes at 12-4 were the last team in. Now, Ethan, listen, it wasn't easy to get into these at all. As a matter of fact, within the top 14, you had to have 13 wins. We talked all along, Ethan, what was going to be the number. And I thought it was going to be 13. I really did. I thought you were going to have 13, and that is, in fact, what it turned out to be. 13 wins gets you into the 14 spot, 15 and 16 overall, which was Team KST and the Quad City Shockers. They're both at 13 wins, and then from there, it drops off. One of the more notable ones is Urban DFW, who played the hardest schedule of any of these teams. They are Team 17 at 11-5, but again, they played a ton of Pro 16 matchups and have the most difficult schedule by far. So that paid off for them, and they were able to win, obviously, some big games as well against some of those squads.
Yep, toughest schedule by far. I think it ended up being. Strength of schedule matters big time, but it's not only getting those games, it's also winning those games. And they did that on occasion as well. I believe they had a win over Southern Ties. They had a win over one of Elite in Wichita in front of college coaches as well, which was a huge one for the program. They're well-deserving of a play-in spot. And again, very dangerous play-in team.
All right, let's talk about a few more. Prominent Elite. They're a group that obviously has the top spot. And it's what the whole next section of our league is about, giving prospects an opportunity to play in these highly anticipated matchups. When you see your pool, Prominent, boy, oh boy, there's not a better pool that you could have than the pool they're going to get to play in, which will come momentarily. But we have to start and talk about their top prospect.
Mason Abbotton, tremendous spring. and it paid off in Wichita. Indiana State came and watched him play, really liked what they saw, ended up offering him after the event concluded, and it was well-deserved. Mason is a kid that is going to continue to trend upwards. 6'6", but he has point forward guard skill, can put the ball on the floor, make adaptive reads as a passer, shoot it off the dribble. He is a mid to high major kid, and he's been one of the most productive players, Pro 16 or next in the 17U division. He's been one of the most productive players that we've had all year. He's their engine. He's their horse. But this group plays super hard, and they're clicking at the right time, Matt. They're clicking at the right time, and so much of making a deep run is timing and gelling, playing well together. And I think they have what it takes to make a super, super deep run in July as a next team.
Fam Elite, another next squad we got to shout out. They have 3 wins over Pro 16 teams, tied for the highest of any club that there was with us in next. And they've obviously got a talented group. You don't do that without really good players.
Nope. Jalen Fenner, Dylan Thompson, Elijah Black, Ian Lowe, just to name a few on that group that have stood out throughout the spring, played at a super high level. They're fully healthy now. Like you mentioned, 3 Pro 16 wins. I think if you're any of those Pro 16 teams that they played in the spring, you can probably speak freely and say this is not a team that we want to face in July because of how they get after it defensively. They've told me for a while our defense travels. So we'll see if it travels to Phoenix, and then after that to Indianapolis. 2 big stages for these guys, but well-deserving of a top 4 seed in next. And their prospects that they have, especially Fenner and Dylan Thompson, are 2 fringe Division I kids that could see those offers roll in based on the matchups that they're going to have down in Phoenix.
Team Utah, they were the top spot. They're heading into Wichita. They've been a very, very great group. Not just this team particularly, but all of their teams have been very talented. And this group at 17s, they've got a real chance to make a deep run.
They do. 14-2 spring session for these guys. Big piece is 6'10" Guystone Kasenga. They need him back healthy. He's on a 6-week timetable to return right now, going down just after Wichita. So it's going to be close for him to be able to play in July. But he changes everything for this team with his size if he is able to go. They've got athletic scoring guards off the dribble as well, shooters to space the floor. They're going to defend the full length of the court. They're well coached. Team Utah, again, another squad that they faced Prominent Elite this past weekend in Phoenix for our Memorial Day end of spring session. And that was a tremendous game. Team Utah barely squeaking it out, giving Prominent their first loss of the spring. But both of those teams coming in as 2 of our top seeded 17U next teams.
All right, we've got to get to the Pro 16 where, look, this is by far the most anticipated standings for Pro 16 because there's a lot that are missing, and there's a lot that are going to have to work their way through the plan. We'll get to those pools shortly and what exactly they're going to have to do to make it, but let's go ahead and roll the top 14 standings. And in the number 1 spot, it's no shocker. It's TLBA. They're 11-2. There's 3 programs that are 11-2. They're at the top. They're 2 losses, though, both without Eli Ellis. BTI United at number 2, led by Nick Kamania and Xavier Staten. Select Basketball, it's the first time they're not a number 1 seed. They're number 3. They've also won 11 games on the season. Southern Ties at 4. YGC, a very talented group, at 5. At 6 is Kuz Elite at 8-5 on the season. At 7, with a record of 9-4, but a slightly easier schedule, is Grand Park Premier. Rhode Island Elite is at number 8, also 8-5 on the season.
Number 9, MPJ Elite. A couple of big-time additions for this group heading into the Wichita Live period. They're well-positioned to make a run. 10 is Louisiana Elite. 11, 1 of 1, LaMelo Ball. LJ Rush, Javante Ware, 2 of their top prospects. 12 is 1 of 1 Elite. Almost identical resumes and identical springs for both of these groups at 7 and 6. Team Scoot 7-6 at 13. They're starting to get hot at the right time. And 14, just above the cut line, above the play-in bubble, is Team Museum at 6 and 7.
And these are going to be your play-in teams. It's AO Flight, One Family. That was your championship last year. They're both in the play-in. They're going to have to work their way back in. Very talented groups. Those were your teams at 15 and 16. At 17, it's World Class Renegades. At 18, it's CPSA. Followed very closely there by Nebraska Supreme, who's been an up and down team. When they're good, they're really good. When they're not so much. SA Future, they've got a really talented player in Kingston Flemings. Hurt that he was out for a lot of this season. They're in the plan with the Las Vegas Knicks. Quentin Rhymes, he's had a big year, and West Virginia Gold rounds out. That's your plan. As you look at this plan, there's only 4 spots for this set of teams as well as the next plan teams. So there is a lot, and I mean a lot on the line. We're going to make you wait a little bit longer for the pools. So we're going to continue to break down this huge 17U list that we've got to go through. We talked about the next teams who are obviously in. If you're in the tournament, this is something that's very notable. If you were announced, even if you were in the play-in, you are guaranteed to play this same set of teams in Indy as well. Now, if you miss the actual bracket, you'll obviously be in a showcase format, but you earned not just the ability to play in Phoenix and in Indy, but you earned the ability to play these top teams. So whether you're a Pro 16 or a next team, if you're in the play-in and you do miss the bracket, you're still going to Indy and you're still going to play, again, this set of teams that are really, really talented from the Pro 16 finals. But there can only be 32 spots in the bracket. That's just how it goes. So before we get to that, Ethan, let's talk a little bit about some of these teams. We have to start with the number 1 overall seed, which is TLBA, obviously led by Eli Ellis. Very, very talented. We've given him praise all year long with what he's been able to do. He had 2 game winners, most notably in Memphis. He's been tremendous. They've lost 2 games. Both games he didn't play. So as you look at it, they have not lost without Eli Ellis in the lineup. And this is a group that obviously has got a lot to prove still.
Yeah, Eli, obviously their engine, their driving force to their success, and he really kicked it off for them in Memphis. 2 game winners in less than, 24 hours, or maybe even less. There was like 12 hours. But how about Abu Yarma, Matt? 6'7" wing for them that has absolutely exploded over the past few weekends, and he's 6'7", shooting like 60% from 3, which does not grow on trees at all. He's blossoming into a really notable name for this group. But yeah, TLBA, I mean, it's so tight at the very top between them, Select, and BTI United. All 3 were separated by really minimal power scores. However, they earned the top seed. BTI, Select follow shortly after. Those 3 have been kind of the clear-cut separators, I guess you could say, in terms of 17U Pro 16, but there's a lot of talented teams that are just under them as well.
No doubt. And I think as you look at it, they've got Eli, they've got Isaac Ellis. You mentioned Abu, who's very talented. I think a lot of high majors are going to end up moving on him at some point. He's obviously got several offers that have come in since Wichita. Caden Miller, who you saw with a couple dunks there at the highlight towards the end, he's obviously another talented guy. I know he's fielding calls from everything from mid-major plus the high majors as well. This is a group that they've got the makings to win it all. They really do. They've had a great season. I know Eli and Isaac and their group in the high school season for OTE, they won the regular season standings, but it did not end up winning the overall championship. And I know they're going to come into this with a chip on their shoulder. They want to win both, and they are the favorites without a doubt in my mind. A few other teams, though, as this is a deep, deep list. Select basketball. Nash Humphreys obviously is their guard. He's the big part of why they won last year in the 16U bracket. But a guy that's really stood out to me is Ray Johnston. As you look at Ray, he's a guy that don't judge the book by its cover.
Oh yeah, he's fun to watch for a basketball purist. Probably about 6'6" on a good day, maybe 6'7" you can list him. But just plays the right way. Super good.
Maybe he can get to 6'8" by the time he gets to Phoenix.
Maybe he can get to 6'8" by the time he's in Phoenix too, if he puts some insoles in his shoes. But really solid passer, really good shooter. Plays with a bit of edge as well. High field guy, and he again, like Nash last year, was one of the biggest reasons to why their then 16U team won the entire thing. He's again going to be one of their driving forces to success at the 17U level this year. Gatorade Player of the Year in Montana, Matt. That doesn't happen very often. So excited to see what Ray puts together in July, along with the rest of this select 17U group.
No doubt. Bowden Howell, another guy we'll give a shout out to. That trio, and they've obviously got a deep list, but Nash, Humphreys, Ray, Bowden, they've got a great group with select basketball. YGC, They're another group that I think arguably the most talented group. I would say it's up there. TLBA, BTI, YGC, they're all up there. You're going to see there Chris Sanak, as we're showing some highlights too. Obviously a very, very talented young man. Caden Edwards, he can flat out shoot the ball. We saw him go for 41 in this game that you're seeing highlights. Ethan, this is a group that they've got all the makings to be able to win it all. One of the most notable things, though, is they did lose Cole Williams, but you see Chris Sanak there when he's shooting like that, which is often, which is, he's just tough to stop. I don't know what you're going to do against him. He is undoubtedly one of the best players in the country.
Yeah, and when he's shooting like that, it goes without saying. But there was a different mentality that Chris had, Matt, in Wichita, where he was just in that mode. And he put together one of the best highlight plays that we've had probably in 2 years. Crossover dribble at the very top of the key, finished off over an excellent shot blocker, posterizing dunk in front of a raucous crowd. I mean, when he has that switch turned on, there might not be a more talented player in the country than Chris Sanak. And I think people are now realizing that. Caden Edwards is his running mate, and he's one of the best off the dribble scorers in the entire country as well. So the pieces are there. Cole Williams lost for a good reason. 2024 kid that found a home at FIU after an excellent spring, but they've got the guard play and Scotty Guillory and Trenton Payne to be able to make up for his loss. They're going to be a team, again, that is highly favored, I'm sure, to come in just below that top three, but they've shown that they can play with any of them.
No, I think for them, look, it comes down to, can YGC play some defense? They're going to score. They've scored in every contest except for one against TLBA, which was just not their best showing. But outside of that, they've been able to score and outscore anybody. Defense and locking down, and the guards specifically guarding on the other end and sitting down and playing some defense is going to be very, very important. SA Future, they are a team that is on the outside looking in to start this weekend in Phoenix. They've got to win. We'll get you their pools shortly. But Kingston Fleming's, look, it sucks. Injuries happen. And unfortunately, sometimes those are things that impact the standings. He was not in Dallas. I'm a firm believer if Kingston Fleming's is playing in Dallas, they're not in the plan. They're probably in this bracket. But he was out. They struggled that weekend, and they've struggled without him. But since being back, he's obviously very talented. They played the toughest schedule of any team in Wichita. So, yes, their record, not great, but they also were playing literally the toughest schedule back to back, 5 games straight. And you're seeing Kingston here. The dude can just absolutely fill it up. He can also, though, create for his teammates. He has been absolutely a box office show all season long. At one point, he was leading the league in points and rebounds as a 6'3" guard. But you just see the way he glides, Ethan, is just special.
And I think another part of it, Matt, is we always knew that he could play at the rim. He could get downhill. He's going to blow by just about anybody with his mix of athleticism, body control, hang time, all that. But he was consistently knocking down perimeter shots in Wichita, hunting perimeter shots for himself in Wichita. He's playing with a ton of confidence right now. This is the beauty of the play-in, right? Yes, he was injured that first season or that first session in Dallas, but now let's lace him up. Everybody's on the same playing field. Let's see who deserves to be one of these final 4 teams that's going to make it for 17U, and Kingston and SA Future are going to have that opportunity based on the plan.
Rhode Island Elite is an intriguing squad that, no, they're not necessarily in the top 4, but they are right there. They have the talent. Kelvin Odie had a tremendous showing, both in, really all 3 times he's been with us, he's been phenomenal. Starting in Indy, then in Memphis, and followed up by Wichita. Rhode Island Elite is a team that I think you've really got to keep a close eye on, because they're a group that we saw last year where you can be in that 7, 8, 6 range and make a really deep run. It doesn't as much matter. It's about how you're playing in the month of July. And Kelvin, picking up offer from Creighton, as well as several other places, really had a great Wichita, and we expect, obviously, big things going forward from him.
His motor is special, Matt, and he finishes at the rim with just about anybody in the country. So really excited to see what they put together in July. Like you mentioned, they have a similar makeup to a lot of teams that had success at the 17U level with us last year. I think back to teams, maybe this is more extreme, but like the Las Vegas Knicks of last year that had the talent but not necessarily the record. put it together at the right time, made a super deep run. I think that's something similar that we could see from this Rhode Island elite group.
And then Team Museum. Wow. I mean, had some travel troubles, which cost them a little bit. But I mean, they just barely made it. And they're out of the play-in as the last team in. Eric Ryba, who has obviously got a chance to be, in my opinion, a future pro. He's going to get paid to play basketball, a 7-footer. He's their anchor on both ends. Guard play, Gio Sanford was solid for them, Ethan, but they struggled a little bit in Wichita with the guard play. They're going to have to bring that a little bit better to make a deep run. But the most important part for them is you're in. You were able to get in and guaranteed you're in the round of 32. But now it's, hey, can you work your way up from 14 and maybe get to 11 and be able to have a better first round and second round draw?
Most definitely. Eric's their anchor on both ends of the floor. Gio was dunking on just about anybody in Wichita. So special showing for both of those guys. Record-wise, they've got to pick it up a little bit, but they do squeak in just above that play-in line at 6-7, the only under 500 team to do so. So kind of luck of the draw for those guys. I guess, you can attribute that to strength of schedule as well and how they have played and the opportunities that they've had. But excited to see, again, this group in July as they continue to gel and have another opportunity to play against some of the best.
Let's get to our next guest, which is Will Harper. Will has been out scouting all throughout the season, and we bring him in to talk specifically for the 17U. Will, this is obviously going to be a very tightly contested, both on the next side and the Pro 16 side, very talented teams.
Yes, sir.
We'll let you focus on the next side to start this conversation out. Give me a few guys that you really have your eye on that were able to make this bracket.
Yeah, so the first guy I really like is Josiah Ball for Grand Park Premier, 6'6" wing, but he's positionless in a lot of ways. Offensively, extremely versatile. He can really play the 2 through the 5. He's got the ability to shoot the 3 ball, gets to his spots very well. And out of that low post, he's got a very good fader on him. He positions himself very well below the defense. And just overall, he's a driving force behind Grand Park Premier's success, passes very well out of the high post as well. And with a team that digs way into the shot clock, sometimes you need a guy who can hit those difficult shots, difficult faders, and Josiah Ball is your guy.
Talk to me about Michigan Hurricanes. They've got a couple prospects that are really notable. One that is a young 2026 that's ranked nationally, as well as just a plethora of talent on their squad.
Yes, for sure. So that guy you're talking about, Jaquan Stennis, he's a 6'8" wing. He holds multiple Power 5 offers, and he can really do it all. Above the rim finisher, and he goes well with their guard, Carlos Medlock, who's he controls the pace of every single game he's in, 6-foot point guard, and he's the engine behind this Michigan Hurricanes team. And off the P&R between Jaquan Stennis and Carlos Medlock Jr., the defense really has to commit to either the Medlock Jr. floater or layup or the Jaquan Stennis lob. And so it's a dangerous duo. So they're really going to do some damage in the next playoffs for sure.
And Jay Uno, they're a squad out of Austin, Texas that has been very, very good. Jamal Shedd's program that he sponsors. They've got a young man in Landon Short that is definitely going to be one to notice. He's picked up an offer here recently, and I think he's going to have a lot more interest down the road.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He's got Division I upside, in my opinion, Division I scoring ability for sure. What really popped my eyes for Landon was whenever they played AUSA Australia, Team Jordan. And he was playing against a guy who was 6'6", face guarding Landon the whole time. And this guy has now ended up committing to a low major Division I team. And Landon scored 20-plus points while this guy was guarding him. And he gets to his spots very well in the mid-range as well. He's a walking bucket, to be honest. And off the pick and roll as well, he passes extremely well. He doesn't read his man. He reads the screener's man. That's, in my opinion, a huge gauge of a player's IQ at this level. And so, yeah, he, like I said, Division I upside, just got an offer from UT Dallas, I believe. It's been a really big live period for Landon Short.
No doubt. A few others that we want to make sure and give some love to, some that we already have talked about, but Team Utah Black and Prominent Elite, both those squads are
Yes.
West Coast squads that have been really, really talented and are obviously up towards the top. Both of them have been the number one seed at
Yep.
some point or another in the next section. What do you see out of both those teams?
Yeah, so like you already mentioned, Mason Abitten, the 6'6" guard, just picked up an offer from Indiana State, holds multiple other Division I offers, and I mean he is just one of if not the best player in Next in my opinion, and he's able to get to his spots. Another guy who gets to his spots with ease at this level, 6'6" with a very high release point, vertical athleticism to go with plus wingspan, and like I said, high release point. He's a Division I level shot maker. He's got range to go with it. His range extends 3 feet beyond the three-point line, if not more. He passes the eye test big time. He doesn't see closeouts. Like I said, Division I prospects in all types of ways, can finish at the rim and does it on the defensive end as well. And then for Team Utah 17U Black, a guy a lot of people already know about, JJ Apthang, 6'4" guard. He's the truth, to be honest. He can do it off the dribble. One of the best off the dribble and off balance players that I've seen in a while at the high school level. He has an offer from Utah State. He has an offer from FIU in Northern Kentucky. And he's going to continue to pick up these Division I offers. And he's also very vertically and laterally gifted as well. Stays in front of his defender very well and can finish at the rim acrobatically extremely well. If you get a chance to watch him, he is big time. And like I said, he'll continue to have a big live period, pick up these D1 offers.
No doubt. No doubt. Team Utah, top to bottom, JJ, Albert Philippe, one of their other combo guards, had a tremendous showing. I know, Will, you just saw him out in Phoenix.
Man.
Like I mentioned too, big guy, Stone. You got to get him back 6'10".
Mm-hmm.
Adds another dimension to this team.
Exactly.
And I completely agree. JJ is special. I think he's going to benefit big time from the platform that's coming in Phoenix.
Definitely. Yes, sir.
John, show us the next standings for the top 14 real quick. I don't want to do the matchups yet, but just show us the top 14 seeds. And I want Will to give us a few teams off here that he thinks can make a really deep run for 17U. Again, this is 17U next standings. You're getting ready to see the top 8 here. Will, out of this top 8, who are some of the groups that you really think can make a deep run in this 17U Pro 16 finals?
Yes, sir. So, of course, Prominent Elite, like we were just talking about, one of the most skilled teams in this whole circuit. And they have another point guard, Sebastian Knox, that I didn't get a chance to talk about. He goes great in transition with Mason Abitten. He's a very quick guard. Like I said, can score from multiple levels, very tight handle. And he can beat a press by himself, to be honest. So I think Prominent Elite with Mason Abitten and Sebastian Knox have a great chance at it. I haven't gotten a chance to watch 2 through 5, but Team Utah Black, like I was just talking about as well, they're a team, once they get the 6'10" guy back, they're going to be very, very multidimensional. Albert Felipe, another underrated combo guard from Team Utah. He can jump out of the gym, great defensive prospect, handsy on-ball defender without fouling. He's got a great frame to go with it. So I think they have a great chance at it. And I think Michigan Hurricanes also, they have the athletes to stay with anybody in this play. And I think Michigan Hurricanes has a great chance. Jaquan Stennis is a matchup nightmare. If you're playing a smaller team, it's tough because he's got speed, he's got it all, and he's got a high motor as well, so he doesn't really get tired. So those are some teams for me that can go very far, in my opinion.
Well, thanks so much for your time and coverage all spring long. We're looking forward to seeing you in July and seeing how all this works out in the bracket.
Yes, sir. I can't wait.
All right. Thanks so much for Will joining us there. We've got still the pools to be able to unveil. So without further ado, John, let's roll it. And next teams, you should be really excited because there's some of you that especially that are going to get a great opportunity. Pool A, holy moly. Yeah, it's loaded. You start with Rogue, Team Spates, Prominent Elite. Those are your next teams. Southern Ties, Select Basketball, BTI, and TLBA. All of those teams will play each other. A few repeat matchups that you're going to see, obviously. TLBA has played BTI and Select as well as Southern Ties. And as you look at it, Rogue, as a matter of fact, played Select, beat them. played Southern Ties, beat them. Now, Southern Ties was the first week, and their entire team has pretty much changed from that first week of the season. So very different look, but I'm really excited to see Rogue and the Sage Twins in this pool, as well as Team Spates. They just had several guys get offers. Jacob Daniels, one of them, is Isaiah, another young man who was able to get an offer from his great play in Wichita. They're going to be in this pool, obviously. And then Mason, who we've talked a ton about, prominent elite. All of those great next players that we think are Division I players, they now get to go show it and showcase it in the top pool in the Pro 16 finals. In Pool B, you've got YGC, Marcus Smart's program, Coos Elite, Grand Park Premier, and Rhode Island Elite. That's your 4 Pro 16 teams. Fam Elite, Cap City Scrappers, and Team Utah. Again, everybody plays everybody. You're going to play 6 games in these pools, so you're going to get to see all these matchups, some of them repeats, some of them very new matchups that we're very, very excited to see how they sort out. Looking at Pool C for 17U, you've got MPJ Elite, Louisiana Elite, and 1-of-1 LaMelo Ball as your 3 Pro 16 teams. 4 next teams in this pool. It's Iowa Barnstormers, Grand Park Premier next, J Uno, and Off to You. Again, everybody will play everybody in these pools. And the last pool of teams that are guaranteed to be in, it's Team Scoot, Team Museum, 1-of-1 Elite, Pro Level Titans next, Colorado Collective, Bama Celtics, and Born to Win on the next side. Now, before we get to these next 2 pools, how these next 2 pools will work out is there's 4 total spots, and you're going to see in Pool E, which is our first play-in pool, and it is loading. And here you go. Just wanted to make you wait a little bit longer. But AO Flight, Las Vegas Knicks, One Family, World Class, KC Spurs, River City, Hoops, and Urban DFW. 2 teams from this pool will make the bracket. 2 teams. They will be seeded as the 15 and 16 teams overall. So it's going to be a very contested bracket, obviously. But this is your 15 and 16 seed overall. And then it will be followed by Pool F, which will be the last 2 teams in the bracket of 32 at CPSA, SA Future, Nebraska Supreme, West Virginia Gold, Team KST, Michigan Hurricanes, and the Quad City Shockers. From those 2 pools, Pools E and Pool F, Ethan, only 4 out of that group of 14 can make it. Good luck, because it is going to be I think a very intriguing circumstance just as you look through. It's a grinder, man.
Yeah. My personal pick to make it out of Pool E, if you want to throw that up there as well, John, I'm going to say AAO Flight, and I'm going to say Urban DFW come out of this pool. I've got a next team making it Urban DFW, and there are some really solid groups. I think World Class Renegades is going to be very close. One Family, Las Vegas Knicks as well. We saw what they did last year, Matt, when I think they had probably 3 wins at the same time last year and then ended up making a super deep run. Got a similar vibe for them, but I'm going with AAO and Urban DFW to make it out of that pool. Pool F as well. SA Future, I'm sure, is going to be a very heavy favorite to make it out of Pool F and be one of those teams. And I'm going with CPSA as the other group. I think Joe Sterling's made for not March, but July in this case. I think he's made for a July run and going to get his team into the big dance.
Well, let's take a look at a little bit of what our models would say. In Pool E, John, throw that up one more time. It is the 2 favorites that were the 2 in the finals. Those are your 2 odds-on favorites, AO Flight and One Family, to make it out. The Las Vegas Knicks and World Class Renegades right there with them. Then Urban DFW is projected as the top next team in this group. Very, very loaded group. In Pool F, you'll see that SA Future is projected in the models to be the top team out of this pool. Nebraska Supreme projected to be the second team, but CPSA, West Virginia Gold, Michigan Hurricanes, they're all right there in a tightly contested group looking at the model. So a few other things, just because this is just for fun, right? Will a next team make the Final Four? Last year, Omaha Elite, deep run. They made it all the way to the Final Four. Yes, plus 750 right now. So the odds say, the models say there's an opportunity. There's an opportunity. Highest next seed to win first round games. As you look through some of these, there's going to be some very intriguing once we get to the bracket, but the overall odds on favorite from the models is TLBA, BTI United right there with them. Select Basketball YGC actually is ahead on the models of Southern Ties. Southern Ties, there you go. There's some fodder for you to be able to say, oh, okay, the models don't love you, but you're in the top 5, so let's not act like you're way down there. Rhode Island Elite, like I said, I think they're a group that really has an opportunity in this. They are projected very well in the models, and then Team Museum is a sneaky one that they're sneaking up there. Could maybe make a deep run again. They're in the 14th spot as of now, and have the ability to move up and down a little bit. Ethan, let's just go pool by pool, and we'll just recap here shortly. We'll start with Pool A. In Pool A, you can give me two matchups. You've got TLBA in that pool, BTI United, Select Basketball, Southern Ties, Prominent Elite, Team Spades, Rogue. What are the two matchups you're most looking forward to in that?
I think one of the ones is probably Rogue and TLBA. And I say this because we've seen TLBA play nearly every other team in this pool except for Rogue, who I think we have a wide consensus that they are one of the most well-equipped teams, whether you're Pro 16 or next, to step on the floor and contend with just about anybody. So I'm intrigued to see how they match up in this game. I think the wing matchup between the Sage Twins and Abu Yarma is also something definitely to watch as a good barometer for where both of those sets of prospects are at. Other than that, I am very excited to see a rematch of BTI United and TLB. I think that goes without saying. That was one of the best games that we had throughout the entire spring. Eli finished it off with a game winner on Peacock that was followed by a court storming. I'm ready to see that matchup again. I think Nicomania and Xavier Staten, the rest of that group, they're going to be up for that game, ready to play. Definitely excited to see that rematch happen.
Yeah, and we saw this last year with the way our league works. A lot of times the best two teams, as they would be, have a chance to meet 3 times. Once in the spring like they did, once here as we super pull it for this first live period in July. And then the last live period, the only way they meet again, obviously, is if they meet in the championship, which did happen last year. AO Flight and One Family. AO got the first one, and then One Family won the next 2 consecutively. So we shall see. Wouldn't be upset if that's our championship matchup. I think YGC, Southern Ties, Rhode Island Elite, there's going to be some other teams that, want something to say about that. Let's talk about Pool B. Pool B, you've got YGC, Coos, Grand Park Premier, Rhode Island Elite on the Pro 16 side, Fam Elite, Cap City, Team Utah on the next side. Give me a couple next Pro 16 matchups you're looking forward to here.
Coos Elite and Fam Elite. Battle of Houston. I think these are 2 of the best 17U teams in the entire state of Texas. One's Pro 16, the other one's a next team. I am going to be front and center for that matchup. I think it's going to be an absolute dogfight from start to finish. 2 teams that absolutely defend their tails off, have size on the wing. That is going to be a war. Great coaching as well from the Coos Elite side. Great coaching as well from Fam Elite side. That's going to be a war, a dogfight, whatever you want to call it in Phoenix. That's going to be one of the best games to watch over the entire weekend, in my opinion. Team Utah Black as well. Very excited to see them against YGC. I think that's going to be a very good test for their guards, their athletic guards that will defend, that will sit down and make life difficult on guys like Caden Edwards. Size as well is a big factor in that matchup. And if they get 6'10" back, Team Utah, then you've at least got something to throw at Chris Sinak. Although, there probably isn't a person in the country that you can match up confidently with Chris Sinak and say, okay, we're good. We're taking him away. We're limiting him, whatever. You've got to probably throw 4 to 5 bodies at him on every single possession. So excited to see both of those. But the parity and the chance that these next teams have to play on this platform in Phoenix is really special. We've said it over and over again, but this is the payoff to playing well in the spring. This is the payoff to stacking wins and doing it the right way in the spring. You've now been rewarded with a chance to go out there with eyes watching and completely change your life. So
it's what it's all about. No, that's definitely going to be an intriguing matchup. Chris Sinak, one of the most talented players in the country, and Caden Edwards, I think you could argue he's the most talented scorer in the country. Just dude can absolutely fill it up. So good luck to any team trying to guard those 2 that duo is very, very special. All right, let's talk about Pool C. This is where you see just the 3 Pro 16 teams in the next 2 pools. What do you like here? Give me a matchup.
Jay Uno and Louisiana Elite is a very intriguing one in this bracket, Matt. I think Jay Uno, we've talked about Landon Short a little bit, who's their sniper off the dribble, off the catch. They've got size in the front court as well. Louisiana Elite, kind of a completely revamped roster construction from last year. They've got shooters on the wing. They've got a couple of talented guards and front court pieces. I think that's going to be a really interesting clash of style. And then MPJ Elite and Grand Park Premier next is going to be a very intriguing matchup to monitor as well. MPJ, like I said, a couple of late season additions for them that have already paid off and played super well in Wichita. Grand Park Premier has been consistently good throughout the spring. I believe their total record was 17-3. They've gone toe to toe with just about anybody over the course of 5 different tournaments, and Josiah Ball, like Will mentioned, is their driving force. So excited to see both of those matchups. I think this is a pool 2 where you have, again, a lot of parity between Pro 16 and next, so chance for a lot of good games.
And then in Pool D, you've got Team Scoot, Team Museum, 1 of 1 Elite, as it would be those 3 Pro 16 teams, all East Coast teams. Pretty cool to see that. We'll see the East Coast battle between those 3. And then you got pro level Titans, Colorado Collective, Bama Celtics, and Born to Win on the next side. Give me one matchup here.
I'll give you 2. I'll give you Team Scoot and Born to Win, matchup of 2. 1 Georgia team, 1 Florida team, bordering states. Team Scoot with Evan Sturck and company is starting to hit their stride, and Born to Win has a point guard in Terrence Shannon that holds Division I offers currently. So excited to see that one. My favorite one in that pool, though, one of my favorite ones total, is Colorado Collective and Team Museum. Colorado Collective has 6'11" Kassan Westfall, who's still a name that is flying under the radar a little bit, and he's going to get the chance to play against Big Eric for Team Museum. So that's going to be a great one.
Couldn't ask for a better chance. If you're a big guy, I mean, you couldn't ask for, whether you're getting to play a guy, that's a versatile guy like a Chris Sanak, that's, 6'10 plus and can do it all, or Eric in this case, who's obviously well over 7 foot. A very skilled big, one of the best skilled bigs in the country. I mean, this is what you play in the league for. This is what this league's all about, giving the opportunity for these next programs to play these Pro 16s in the most pivotal time in the season, through these next couple weeks and the live period, which it is only June 2nd today. But, we're excited. We're excited. It's going to be here before we know it. They will tip off July 11th, Thursday, game starting at 8 a.m. Phoenix time out there on the West Coast. So be ready. And we are very, very excited. So congratulations to all the teams that made it 15, 16, 17s. We've got one more guest, and that is a team that we really haven't talked a lot about because I've been waiting for him to come on, and that is Robert Eichart of BTI. Great program, obviously, and Coach Eichart, you guys have had a great run this year. First, we got to talk about Nick. How cool is it to see Nick tomorrow night? He will play for Team USA U18 squad. Oh, Coach Eichart, we've got you muted. Hit that unmute button for us. There we go.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Very exciting for Nick. He's worked so hard. I mean, he's just got so much humility and discipline in this craft of basketball, and he just works at it so intensely. So it's great to see him rewarded with this honor.
No doubt. And then obviously your squad coming in, you're the 2nd overall seed coming into Phoenix for 17U, right behind TOBA, who obviously had their very close down to the buzzer game. We're going to get to see you guys play again, which is great. Like we talked about earlier, that happened last year where One Fam and AO played each other 3 times. This would be obviously the 2nd meeting. When you look at your pool, John, throw the pool up there for him. When you look at your pool specifically for the 17U and Pool A, you guys obviously have earned this. What excites you about this Pool A and obviously a group of 7 teams that are all very elite?
Well, it's a really tough pool. I think the biggest difference this year and last year, I mean, I thought last year the circuit was strong, but this year you're seeing teams really prepared. I mean, they're scouting, they're watching video. You see a handful of coaches that you're going to play at your game, taking notes. It has a college conference feel to it where these guys are doing their homework. So even if you think you're a little better than someone, they're going to come prepared. They're going to scout. They know your stuff. They know your players. And we're doing the same thing. So every game we're telling our guys, every game's a championship game. Every game doesn't matter if you got 3 or 4 better players, doesn't matter. Everyone's coming to play and bringing their best foot forward. But it's tough pool. I mean, that 5-0 weekend was great, but we had 3 or 4 games that were dogfights down to the wire. Southern Ties is excellent. TOBA, obviously, they just play so hard and make shots, and so we're excited to have a chance to compete against them again.
Coach Eckhart, you kind of hinted at it, but having the coaching staff that you have, guys with college experience, high-level high school experience, and beyond that even, what kind of advantage does that give you guys on a game-to-game basis? Just having minds that have been around super high-level basketball for a super long time.
Oh, that's a huge advantage. And we've always kind of prided ourselves on getting, quality coaches. Like, if we're never going to cut corners on coaches, we're always going to get high quality coaches. Having guys with college experience is huge. But even those guys, as good as they are now, they're having to understand that this is AAU and you don't have 5-6 days to prepare. So you have to kind of be able to, teach concepts quickly and get players to absorb that information and get them prepared as quick as possible. But it's been great we have actually 6 college coaches on our staff right now total, which is huge. But then we have some very good high school coaches and some guys that just coach AAU that are excellent at coaching at the AAU level as well. So collectively, though, we're always trying to sharpen each other and share ideas. And you'll see it typically at our games. You'll have 5 or 6 coaches at the end of the bench because that's the 15U, the 16U coach, the 17 next team coach. I mean, so that's kind of our culture. Our coaches are always rooting for each other, and they all feel invested in every team.
Last question for you from me. What does having the experience that guys like Nick, Isaiah Johnson, Peyton White got last year, all playing up on this same BTI team and making the run that they made last year when they were, 2025s playing in the 2024 age group, now obviously being 2025s playing in the 2025 age group. Does that give you guys a massive advantage in your mind, just having that experience of, hey, we've been here before?
Absolutely. I think you even look at teams like Idaho Select that has great culture. I mean, we always typically will have guys back every year, and have a good core of guys back. And obviously getting kids like Xavier was huge because he just elevated our team to even another level. But in addition to all the other kids we have a small roster of 8 guys. All 8 are contributing. All 8 are pivotal and important to the success of our team. And Coach White and Coach Cantwell are able to utilize any of those 8 at any given time. And they're all contributing. So, but having those core back, the thing that those 3 guys wanted to do was come back and win it. So that was, we had a couple injuries at the end last year. Isaiah Johnson got hurt and we were down to like 6 guys. And so, they fought and we lost a close game in that quarterfinal where we felt like we could have had a shot at one family. And, we just came up a little short. We had 2 injuries. We were down to 6 guys. So those 3 guys really wanted to come back and win it this year. So they're focused on that. They're not focused on stats. They're not focused on recruiting, even though that's important. They know that winning elevates their recruiting and elevates their value for coaches' eyes at the next level. So they just want to win it.
As we look down your roster, look, there's a lot of guys to talk about, and Nick Kamania and Xavier State, and those are the top 30 players in the country. Look, the reality is everybody knows those 2 names. Obviously, they're very talented, but I want to end with this. How cool was it for you to see a kid like Peyton White get his first Division I offer after a great session in Wichita, someone that has been overlooked for far too long, and being able to break through that barrier and finally get that first one?
Oh, that was great for him. I thought he played tremendous all weekend, and it was just a matter of time that people will start to see his value. And I think he's going to be recruited at the highest level. I really think a lot of high majors are going to see value in him, his production, his efficiency. He gets the most out of every play, every possession, and he's a perfect 4-year guy for any college, because he's extremely loyal. He comes to work every day. I mean, he gets the hard hat in our program. I 26 years. I mean, I could think of 3 or 4 guys that are extremely tough and committed to winning. And Peyton is right there with, the Drake Londons and the Dexter Econos, guys that are extremely tough. But it's great to see his hard work paying off. And I think the coaching staff has done a great job of, putting all the guys in position to have some success for the next level while simultaneously winning. And that's really hard to do, because you're trying to win the games, but you're also trying to give everybody a chance to, shine and have some opportunity to improve their recruiting. And we went back to the drawing board and said, hey, here are 4 or 5 things that we could do that are going to really help all our guys individually and still put us in a position to win all the games that we could possibly win. So we're excited. But Peyton, look for more to come. I think he's going to have a lot of BCS schools coming in this summer after those 2 viewing periods for sure.
Well, Coach Eichhardt, thanks so much. Congrats so far on your program's great success, and we'll see how far they can take the run this time. Phoenix, obviously a very tough pool. You're locked into a top 3 seed no matter what. So that's some.
Yeah. No, we love tough pools. We love tough pools. We want the smoke.
Thanks so much. We appreciate it.
All right. Thanks so much.
All right, Ethan. Great show. Wow. We talked about a lot. There's a few other things, though, that we do want to make sure our viewers know about. We'll have our girls release show. That is going to be Selection Sunday on June 23rd, first year of our girls section. Everything's next this year. We will obviously unveil some Pro 16 teams going forward. The winners of that are going to have an opportunity to join that section. So that'll be really great. That final is in July 5th through the 7th out in Pennsylvania at Spooky Nook. Middle school, some important notes on it. It will also be announced on July 9th with the next finals. So we're talking about the Pro 16 finals this entire show. If you didn't hear your name called, again, there's still something to play for, and that is the next finals, where all the teams we talked about today, they're guaranteed to make the next finals, and you can obviously join them. The top 150 teams at 17U, 16U, and 15U will make it, as well all the way down with 14s, 13s, 12, and 11U through the middle school. So we'll announce that July 9th, and that's obviously in Lincoln and Omaha. All of our next programs are headed to the Omaha area for that weekend, and it will be one of the biggest tournaments that the country has seen in the United States, period. And they're playing for some gear prizes for the winners, as well as 14U, 15U, and 16U. All will get the Pro 16 tag for the champion of that. The NIT, which will be for the teams that just narrowly missed the top 150, those teams will play in the next invitational. That will also have a gear prize that we will be telling our programs here very soon. And I think that's about it. So great show, Ethan. Give me your last thoughts on what was a long show, but a good show, and obviously a big Selection Sunday for a lot of teams.
Ready for Phoenix? Send those watch party clips in if you haven't already. I'm going to go 15U. We have a next winner. I don't know who it is. We do have a next winner.
You're calling a next winner for the Pro 16 finals, correct?
For the Pro 16 finals in July, we're going to have a next team win the championship. My pick is Team-ish for that group, but I think
which would guarantee, by the way, they got the Pro 16 tag if you win that.
Yep, and I think that's my I guess my hottest take right now. 16U, I think select basketball repeats, and 17U, I think we see Coach Eichhardt and his group take it home this year. I think this is the second time around, and this is the last thing that they all have been wanting. And like he said, they understand, hey, if we win, that pushes our recruitment alone to the next level, not game-to-game stats or whatever it is. We're just going to keep winning. I think that's what they're ultra focused on. I like the vibe from that group. That's my favorite to win in 17U.
All right, there's some bold predictions. We'll talk about the models and much more. Check out all the articles on nextprohoops.com. You'll see the standings be updated here shortly on those within the week. And it's going to be a long month of June. Enjoy your high school teams, as most of you are going back with them. Stay healthy. Please stay healthy, as there is a massive, massive July just around the corner that we're looking forward to having each and every one of you. He's Ethan. I'm Matt. Thanks so much for joining us. Big shout out to John and Aiden for getting us all prepped, making us look good on the show today, as well as everyone who joined us. It was a very long list, so we appreciate all of our guests. Best of luck to all the teams. If you made it, congratulations. If you didn't make it, again, you still got the next finals to play for. Come show yourself, prove yourself in the month of July. May was the month of separation. Ethan, what is the month of July? We got to come up with the same for that.
TBD, but I'm going to be on the show and I'll come up with something that's going to match the month of separation. The month of separation was just different, and I think it honestly inspired a lot of teams to push forward and make this tournament. So July's got to match it. I don't have it yet, but I'm coming with something.
All right, we'll get our motto here shortly. And we might have one more bit of information that if you made the Pro 16 finals, you will have access to some exclusive Puma gear that we'll be letting you know about here very soon. So check those emails, program directors, as there will be some pretty cool stuff hit your inbox very soon. Thanks so much for everybody joining in. That's going to do it for tonight.